Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 4 of the Fantasy Fast Break, the fantasy show where you get your advice in 12 minutes or less. This time around, for episode 4, our weekly report, I am rejoined by my buddy Marco. Where are you, Marco? Hello,
Hey, what's
Marco.
up? What's up?
Hey,
What's up?
everyone, Marco missed us for the last two episodes, but he's back. And as
Yes.
you can see, he is recording this show from our mobile studio, aka his car. I hope you're
Yes.
not driving, Marco, but
No,
I'm
I,
glad
I
to have you
parked.
back.
Thank you. Thank
You're
you.
parked. That's
Yes.
very good. So
I think so.
don't
It's not
record
moving.
and drive, as they say.
Yes.
Okay, so listeners, subscribers, fans, and family. Um, this show is called our Fantasy Weekly Report. It started off as an article that I used to do for then Hoopball, now Sports Ethos, but I wanted to see it done in a different medium, and we're going to do it this time around in our little VOD here on YouTube. What happens in a weekly report is take the sample size of the past week, which in this case is going to be week 9 in the fantasy NBA, and we take a look at the rankings based on 9cat scoring. We take a look at the top performers and biggest disappointments. For the purposes of the show, we've filtered out the players who've played at least 3 games. And the aim of the show or this report is to give everyone a different perspective on players, because a lot of the times we get carried away by single game performances. And
Hmm.
I'm sure you're no stranger to that, Marco, where you see
Oh,
a
yeah.
player pop off for a big game and you go, oh my God, he's so good. I have to add him right now.
No.
Right? I mean, have you
I
been
wait.
victim?
I wait. I wait
I'm
for the
guilty.
second game.
Oh, you wait for the second. Okay, so it's a
Yeah.
2 game sample size for Marco, but
At least.
for this case, we're gonna be showing you some guys from the top 50 who played 3 games or more in week 9, and after that, at the very end of things, we're gonna discuss, I guess, the players who pretty much disappointed and fell off, and were outside of the top 250. So
Yeah.
without further ado, we're gonna start our timer and get things going. And remember, we're gonna get this all done in 12 minutes or less. Okay, Fantasy Fast Break Weekly Report Week 9. Brought to you by Fantasy Fast Break. Your hosts Erik Ong and Marco Aventajado.
Yo.
Number 3 last week is Fred Van Vliet of the Toronto Raptors. In 3 games, he averaged 23.3 points per game on 4.7 crazy 3 pointers per game, 4.7 rebounds, 8.7 assists, 2.3 steals on 46.2 field goal percentage. Now that's crazy. I just like to note that during this time, the Raptors were pretty much missing OG Ananobi and Kem Birch, but he doesn't matter too much. And their last game, they missed Pascal Siakam and OG
Uh,
Ananobi's return. But aside from those big men, missing from the Raptors, it's been the Fred Van Vliet show pretty
mhm.
much all season. Now he's been flirting with top 12, top 10, even top 15 range so far because of improved field goal shooting this season. But top 3 is just crazy. We're talking about the kind of neighborhood normally patrolled by Nikola Jokic, Steph Curry, and Kevin Durant. But
Yep.
last week, it was the Fred Van Vliet show, pretty much. Next, Marco, you got the next guy, and he's
Sadiq Bey's crazy. He's balling. 25.7 points, three pointers per game, 6 rebounds, 3.3 assists. Lights out 54% from the field. Notably, we got a big injury there in Detroit with Jeremy Grant, and he's taking up the slack. He's shooting more times with the ball from the season. He's only shooting 13 field goal attempts per game. Right now, he's at 15, but he's taking better shots. Like I said, 54% from the field, but he's only averaging 37% from the field over the season. So huge improvement these past three games. Hopefully that's gonna stay because Lord knows Detroit needs all the help they can get.
All right. Next, we've got somebody from the Orlando Magic at number 13 for the week in 3 games. Chuma Okiki, who has been a hot pickup in the light of the injury to Wendell Carter Jr. and Mo
Mm,
Bamba being
yeah,
placed in the league's COVID, or should I say, health and safety protocols, just to be exact about it. He's been
yeah.
averaging 13.7 points per game, 3.0 3 pointers per game, 6.7 rebounds, 3.7 steals. This was mainly due to him exploding for 6 steals in that one particular game for the Magic on 45.5 field goal percentage. Now, Okiki, the Magic were supposed to have 4 games this week, coming week in week 10, but their one game has been postponed through this
Hmm.
nasty, nasty COVID pandemic that's blazing through the NBA.
Well, blazing
As
through
far
the
as I'm concerned,
U.S.
yeah, the US,
Yeah.
the world actually. So far, thankfully, not here in the Philippines yet. Fingers
Yep.
crossed that it doesn't get too bad. But yeah, Okiki is somebody that should be rostered in all leagues of all sizes, just
Hmm.
on the point that there are no big men left, and he's been sharing the front court with Robin Lopez. So Okiki is the man, and he's gonna be a beast this coming week.
Yeah. Same thing with Therese Halliburton, with Fox and Mitchell being down for injuries and COVID. He's been trying to help out the team with 14.8 points per game these 4 games, 1.83 pointers per game, 5 rebounds, 8.5 assists. But here's the kicker: 1.5 steals and 1.5 blocks per game, all with 53% field goal percentage. He's just stuffing those stat lines, Eric. Just crazy.
Yeah, I really love him, and it's kind of amazing that he cracked the top 20. I mean, he's somebody who we thought would be like a top 50 guy over the season,
Yeah.
but this particular week he shined and broke through the top 20 mainly on those assists and defensive stat numbers.
Mm.
Surprise, surprise. Thanks to the injuries also sustained by the Portland Trailblazers, Norman Powell, finished week 9, number 23 in 9 cat scoring, because over 4 games, he was averaging 22.5 points per game, 4.0 3 pointers, 4.5 rebounds, 3.5 assists, 1.3 steals on 47% field goal shooting. Powell has really stepped up his game because for a portion, Damian Lillard was out with his abdominal injury. Um, CJ McCollum with the pneumothorax, collapsed lung. Both of those guys missed, part of the 4 game spread that Powell stepped up. And for as long as CJ McCollum is out, I'm pretty sure that he's going to be the second scoring option on
Yep.
that, Blazers team that's really struggled so far. But Chauncey Billups is doing his best as a coach, and he's made some interesting changes, which we'll probably touch on a little bit later on the
Yep.
show.
So we got another Detroit Pistons stepping up with these 3 games. Cade Cunningham, the rookie, 14.7 points per game, 1.3 3 pointers per game, 5.3 rebounds, and 8.3 assists per game. They're really sharing the ball over there in Detroit. But you still have 1.7 steals per game. I mean, rookie showing game. He got game all in 46.2 field goal percentage.
Yeah, yeah.
Is it time to pick him up? Did the
Well, I'm pretty
people give
sure
up
he's
on?
rostered in a lot of leagues right now.
Yeah.
But he did struggle with
Hmm.
injuries and poor production at the start.
Yes.
But from what I've been tracking, he was like outside of the top 5 in the rookie rankings ever since he started playing. But he's climbed up all the way to number 3, I believe, just behind Evan Mobley and Scotty Barnes. So
Yeah.
he overtook the likes of Franz Wagner and Josh Giddey on that list. So yeah, Cade Cunningham is on the rise, and who knows, with both Evan Mobley well, fine, Scotty Barnes is still playing with Evan Mobley out.
Out.
Yeah, entering protocols, and the Cavs
Hmm.
having only, I think, one game due to a postponement. Again, this coming week, Kate Cunningham might, slide up one more slot up those rookie rankings.
Could be.
And here's my boy, number 44th in nine cat rankings on week from week 9, Isaiah Hartenstein. Um, 3 games, 11.7 points per game, 5.0 rebounds, 3.3 assists, 2.0 blocks per game on ridiculous 71.4% field goal and perfect free throw. I'm sorry if that graphic was a mistake. That should have been FT over there. But yeah, he's been amazing off the bench and outshining Ivica Zubats, who's the starting center for the Clippers lately. Unfortunately, Hartenstein suffered a sprained ankle and has been ruled out for Monday's game. But
Mm,
overall, he's been trending really well. So you might want to consider stashing him if your team is in need of a big man.
yeah. Here's my guy who I gave up on earlier in the year, creeping to top 50.
You
I,
dropped
I
him? You dropped
I dropped him
Rocco?
early. I dropped him earlier in the year, and it hurts me to see him play this good because we all know he plays this well, given the chance. And it seems like the chance that he needed was to move to the bench when the coach moved Larry Nance Jr. to the starting lineup. I mean, 8.8 points per game's all right. 1.5. Here is where Rocco shines. 1.5 3 pointers per game, 1.5 steals per game, and 2.3 blocks in all averages in 4 games. Where were you, Rocco? You're
Well,
killing me.
he's been outside the top 100. I don't blame you. I could see him being dropped in shallower leagues, and if that happened, that's understandable. Understandable because he was really struggling
Yeah,
over the course of 2 week span when he wasn't really providing any defensive stats, not shooting threes. He was pretty much on and off dead fish. So
yeah,
now, with the changes and coming off the bench, as you mentioned, he finished as the 50th best player in the league in week 9. That's just crazy good. And this is the vintage Rocco with vintage
that's the
Rocco
Rocco we
numbers
want.
that we were hoping to see as an
Yeah, from the get
upside
go.
return on investment given his, late middle round selection. And there you have it, some of the top notable players from the top 50 rankings in 9 cat scoring.
Yeah,
Last, we have to also discuss before we wrap up the weekly report are some players who are notably outside of the top 250, and we're just going to run through them really quickly. They're at 266 Terry Rozier over 4 games, 271 Isaiah Stewart, considering his ADP is somewhere in the 70 to 75 range. That's a nasty fall. Chris Duarte of the Pacers, who was performing really well, especially during the time that Karis LeVert was still injured, fell off to number 278 in week 9. Russell Westbrook, I don't know. He's a feast or famine player. It's either he's giving you triple doubles and you're happy, or he's just killing your percentages and your turnovers and gives you value outside of the top 300. And in this case, 312 over 3 games. Laurie Markkinen, who I actually have one share of in one league, burned me because it was a weekly roster setup. 322, 3 games. He's not scoring. He's not shooting threes. The defensive numbers that were there initially were gone. They
mm.
fizzled. I don't know. But with Mobley out, Jarrett Allen out, Laurie Markkinen is playing this week. I'm crossing my fingers.
You still starting
Last,
him?
yeah, last,
Oh,
and Marco had a special request for this guy at coming in at an ugly, fugly 342 um, in week 9 is Spencer Dinwiddie of the Washington Wizards. Marco, what happened to Spencer Dinwiddie, and what should our fans and listeners do about him?
well, if you can stash him for this dry spell. because we know he's a good player and he's a good complement to Bradley Beal. But I don't know what's going on over there in Washington. So if you can, stash him for now. But for
Ye-
the more shallow leagues, I think it's time to part ways. But then
Yeah, I
again,
agree.
you,
Yeah,
you
I
don't want to
agree
take
with you
advice from a
completely.
guy who cut Rocco so early.
Well, no, I actually recommended in one of my blurbs. I recommended that Spencer Dinwiddie be dropped in standard leagues. That's 12-team leagues for those of you who are new to the fantasy game and are unaware of league sizes and what's standard and what's not. He hasn't been scoring. He went 0 for 7 shooting in their last game. He was supposed to be able to score, shoot threes, pass the ball, etc. All of those numbers are down across the board. He was actually thriving early on, but
Hmm.
something has been amiss over there in that Wizards locker room. I don't know. Bradley Beal has been up and down. Thankfully, he's found his way in week 9. And there you have it, folks. Fantasy Basketball Week Nine's weekly report. And that happens to be our time. Marco,
Cool.
thank you for joining me.
Thank
Drive
you for
safe.
having
Make
me.
sure you're not recording anything when you start your car. And
No, no.
folks, hopefully Marco will be able to join us again.
Yep.
We missed him in our last coast to coast segment when I did the East Coast and West Coast quick fires. Next episodes, Marco is going to be recording his quick takes,
Hmm.
his quick fire responses, and fantasy advice from the East and Western conferences. Until
Yep.
then, folks,